Emily stood beside her husband, Tom, at a sleek hotel ballroom buzzing with laughter, soft music, and the clinking of glasses. He was in his element, polished, confident, charming a group of clients with his usual easy smile. She nodded along, a flute of champagne in her hand, her smile trained and polite. As she stepped slightly to the side, a man brushed past her, middle-aged, in a dark suit, his expression tense. He didn't stop, didn't say a word, just slipped a small folded piece of paper into her palm like he was passing her a receipt. Her body stiffened. She blinked, looked around. No one else seemed to notice. She glanced at Tom. He was still deep in conversation, laughing about something she hadn't caught. Carefully, she slid the note into her purse without looking at it, her smile never fading. A few minutes later, in the restroom, she locked the stall and pulled out the paper. 4 short lines, written in black ink. Her hands trembled. "You need to run now. He's not who you think he is. Don't go home. He's watching you." She read it twice, 3 times. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She stuffed it back into her purse, her breath shallow. When she rejoined Tom, he gave her a soft smile and slipped his hand around her waist. "You all right?" he asked. "You look pale." "Just the champagne," she replied, her voice steady. They drove home in silence. Tom's hand rested on her thigh, casually, possessively. At red lights, he glanced at her, his smile warm, eyes dark. When they got home, he offered to pour her wine. She said no. She smiled. She kissed him goodnight. Now, in bed beside him, Emily stared at the ceiling. The room was dark, quiet, except for Tom's steady breathing. She could feel the note inside her purse, on the dresser. Her stomach turned. He'd said, "He's watching you." Who was the man? Who had sent him? She turned her head slowly toward Tom. His face was peaceful, like nothing in the world could touch him. But Emily didn't sleep that night, not 1 minute. The next morning, Emily moved through the house like everything was normal. Tom made her coffee, kissed her cheek, and left for work with a smile. But her mind wasn't quiet anymore. Every word he said now echoed differently. Every look, every touch, felt like it came with a question mark. She started noticing things, his late nights, the whispered phone calls in the hallway, the way he shut his laptop the moment she entered the room. At first, she told herself it was work. Tom had always been busy, but now, it didn't feel like business. It felt hidden. Once, she asked who he was on the phone with. He smiled. "Just a client," he said. But there was a second, just before he answered, where his face had changed. Just a flicker. She might not have seen it if she hadn't been looking for it. Emily began replaying old memories, hunting for signs she'd missed. There were so many small things she'd brushed off, like the night she'd found a bruise on her upper arm. She'd thought maybe she bumped into a doorknob, but Tom had seen it and laughed, said she was always so clumsy. Then he'd kissed the bruise and called her adorable. She'd felt warm then. Now, the memory made her cold. She started checking his pockets while doing laundry, carefully flipping through receipts, folded napkins, anything. But Tom was clean, too clean. His phone had a passcode. His office door stayed unlocked, but the bottom drawer on the left side of his desk was always locked. She asked about it casually over dinner, pointing at it like it didn't matter. "That drawer's always stuck. I meant to ask if you wanted me to fix it." He didn't look up from his plate. "Nah, nothing important in there. Just junk." That was the first time he answered too fast. After that, she waited for opportunities. She started waking earlier, checking the office when he was in the shower, but he never left his keys unattended. He always carried them, always knew where they were. She began leaving her phone in odd places, trying to get him to go upstairs while she stayed below. It never worked. He was always nearby now, like a shadow that smiled. One afternoon, while folding laundry, she found a single key loose in one of his suit jackets. It didn't look like a house key. She tucked it into her pocket without hesitation. The drawer was waiting. Emily waited until Tom left for work before she pulled up the guest list from the corporate event. She had taken a photo of the seating chart that night, thinking nothing of it until now. She scanned the names, matching faces in her mind. Then she saw it, Mark Rivers. A quick search pulled up news articles, mostly buried. He was a former compliance officer who'd left Tom's company under strange circumstances. No lawsuit, no public statement, just gone. She found his email hidden in an old LinkedIn profile and sent a message from a new account. Just a sentence. "I think I need to know what you were trying to warn me about." He replied within an hour. "We can't talk here. Meet me in person. No phones." They met in a quiet park outside the city. Mark looked thinner now, older than she remembered. He spoke without pleasantries. Tom's under investigation, he said. Embezzlement, fraud, wire transfers overseas. Big stuff. I gave testimony months ago. Then they dropped me. Like I never existed. Why would you warn me? Because people who talk about Tom disappear. Quietly. And I think you're being used. Emily's stomach twisted. Used how? Mark shook his head. I don't know yet, but he's not who he says he is. You're in the middle of something ugly. That night, Emily cooked dinner, smiled, asked Tom about his day. He kissed her forehead like nothing was wrong, but she saw it now, how carefully he watched her, how his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. The next morning, he brought her coffee in bed and said, "Pack a bag, just you and me this weekend. I booked us a cabin in the woods, no service, total disconnect." He grinned. She smiled back, heart racing. "Sounds perfect," she said softly. But inside, she was already planning how to survive. Emily waited until Tom stepped into the shower, then pulled out the sticky note she'd hidden in her wallet. On it, she wrote the cabin's address, then snapped a photo with her phone and texted it to the burner number Mark had given her. "This is where he's taking me. If I go quiet, you'll know why." She deleted the message, cleared her history, and flushed the sticky note down the toilet. By the time Tom came out, towel around his waist and that usual easy grin, she was smiling too, folding a sweater into her duffel. "Ready for the big adventure?" she said. Her voice barely shook. The drive took hours. Tom talked the whole time about how much they needed this, how disconnected they'd become, how the stress of work had gotten to them both. His hand never left hers. The cabin was beautiful in a cold, empty sort of way. Wood paneling, a fireplace, a wall of windows that overlooked miles of silent forest. No neighbours, no cell service, no way out. Tom lit a fire, poured wine, and offered to cook dinner. Emily kept smiling, kept playing the role. She excused herself to look around the cabin, just to take it all in. She found what she feared. The car keys were gone. There was no landline, just an empty jack on the wall. And in the bathroom drawer, tucked under a shaving kit, was a bag of unmarked pills. White, oval, too many of them. She stared at them for a moment, then closed the drawer, quietly. That night, over dinner, Tom watched her too closely. His touch was softer than usual, his voice lower. Everything felt rehearsed, like he was trying too hard to keep her calm. When he kissed her forehead and told her to sleep in, she nodded, but she didn't sleep. She waited, listened, counted his breaths until they slowed. Then she slipped out of bed. No shoes, no coat. She crept to the back door, eased it open. The cold slapped her hard. She stepped into the woods, barefoot and shivering, her breath catching in the dark. A branch cracked behind her. She froze. Then, Tom's voice, far off but moving closer. "Emily!" She didn't look back. She ran. Branches tore at Emily's skin as she ran through the trees, her bare feet stinging with every step. The cold bit into her legs, but she didn't stop. Behind her, Tom's voice echoed through the dark. "Emily, come back. You're scared, that's all." She didn't answer. Her breath came in short gasps. She didn't know where she was going, just away. Every shadow looked like him. Every sound made her jump. She tripped over a root and hit the ground hard. Dirt filled her mouth. She scrambled back up, heart pounding, legs shaking. Then, through the trees ahead, she saw something. Lights. Moving. She pushed toward it, branches scratching her arms, her nightgown torn. When she reached the edge of the trees, she saw it clearly. A large logging truck crawling along a dirt road. She stumbled into its path, waving her arms, screaming. The truck stopped with a screech. The driver, a bearded man in flannel, jumped down and ran to her. "Jesus, what happened to you?" She couldn't speak. She just pointed back into the woods, then collapsed. She woke in the cab of the truck, a blanket around her. The driver handed her a hot coffee and called her lucky. He didn't ask questions. An hour later, they reached a small town. As they pulled into the gas station, she saw someone standing under the lights. It was Mark. He ran to the truck before it stopped. "I knew it," he said. "I knew he'd take you somewhere off-grid." Emily could barely nod. They went to the local police first, who referred them to the FBI office nearby. A tall agent in a grey suit took their statement, nodding slowly. When Emily mentioned Tom's company, the agent's face changed. Not surprise, something else, like he already knew. "Thank you for coming in," he said finally. We'll look into it. No questions. No notes. No urgency. Outside, Emily turned to Mark. That didn't feel right. He looked pale. It's not just Tom. It's bigger than him. And now she knew. This wasn't just about her husband. It was something far more dangerous. Emily stood outside the tall glass tower of Tom's corporate headquarters, heart racing. It was past midnight, the building dark except for a few scattered security lights. Mark stood beside her, holding the old ID badge he hadn't used in nearly a year. "You sure it still works?" she whispered. He gave a tight nod. "Only one way to find out." They slipped in through the employee entrance. The badge beeped green. The door clicked open. Inside, the halls were quiet, the air cold and stale. Emily kept close to Mark as they moved through the corridors, ducking under security cameras, avoiding motion sensors he still remembered the placement of. They reached the server room, another locked door. This one needed a passcode. Mark pulled a sticky note from his pocket. "Tom's birthday," he said. The door opened. Rows of machines hummed inside. Mark sat at a terminal, fingers flying over the keyboard. Emily watched the hallway, her ears tuned to every noise. After a few minutes, Mark froze. Got something. He clicked through folders, each labeled with vague titles. Inside, spreadsheets with coded transactions, hidden bank accounts in the Cayman Islands, files linking shell companies to Tom's private email. Emily leaned in. "That's money laundering." "That's just the start," Mark muttered. He clicked another folder, video files. One loaded automatically. Emily's breath caught. It was Tom standing in a private office, holding a gun to another man's chest. The man begged for something, money, safety, his words muffled by fear. Tom's voice was clear, cold. "You open your mouth again, you won't need a lawyer." Emily stepped back, hand over her mouth. Mark pulled up another folder. It was labeled with her maiden name, Emily Granger. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside were scanned documents, birth records, sealed adoption papers, a photo of her as a child, with her birth mother's name blacked out. Her chest tightened. Tom had known who she was, long before they met. He had searched for her, chosen her. "Why would he—" she started, but couldn't finish. Mark leaned in, pointing at a name buried in the adoption file. "That's your biological father. Know who that is?" Emily stared at it. A familiar name. A man who had once brought down a corrupt CEO. Tom's old mentor. Suddenly, it all made sense. This wasn't about love. It had never been. Tom had married her for revenge. Emily woke to her phone buzzing non-stop. News alerts, emails, missed calls. She sat up in the cheap motel bed, heart pounding. Mark was already at the small table, staring at the TV. "Turn it up," she said. The reporter's voice was calm but serious. "Breaking news. Emily Granger, wife of tech executive Thomas Bell, is wanted in connection with a multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme and the attempted murder of a federal witness. Authorities believe she is armed and dangerous. Her alleged accomplice, former employee Mark Rivers, is also wanted." Her face filled the screen. Her company photo. She felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Mark turned to her. "He flipped it on you. All of it. He planted everything," she whispered. "He set me up. The files, the money trail, even the video. They'd found it in Tom's server, but it had been left there waiting. Her fingerprints, her name on transfers, a perfect story, wrapped in lies. Tom had always been 10 steps ahead. Emily's mind raced. If they catch us now, it's over. No one will believe us. "We expose the rest," Mark said. "We still have the flash drive. We still have your adoption files, the blackmail video. We leak it. All of it." They packed their things fast, left the motel through the back lot, switched cars, wore hats and sunglasses like fugitives from a movie. Every gas station, every diner, they looked over their shoulders. The tension grew. Sleep was short, food barely touched. One night, they stopped at a quiet rest stop. Emily went to the bathroom. When she came out, the car door was open. Mark was gone. His phone lay on the seat. She called out for him. Nothing. Then she saw them. 2 black SUVs pulling away down the highway, fast. She didn't chase. She couldn't. She knew he'd been taken. Not arrested. Taken. Back on the road, she drove until the gas tank was low and her vision blurred. Alone now, fully framed. No backup. Emily pulled off onto a side road, shaking. Headlights off, hiding in the dark. Everything Tom had done was unfolding exactly as he planned. She had one advantage left. He still didn't know how much she'd found, and she wasn't finished yet. Emily worked from a borrowed laptop in a dusty storage unit she paid for in cash. No Wi-Fi, no GPS, just a prepaid hotspot and time. Lots of time. She still had the flash drive, the files, the video of Tom threatening a man, the offshore accounts, her adoption records, all of it. And now she had a plan. She created a new identity, a fake whistleblower alias, Jane Knoll. She built a simple site, dropped the files anonymously into a dozen inboxes, journalists, watchdog groups, a few brave podcasters. Within hours, they started to spread. But that wasn't enough. She needed him to talk. She created another fake identity, someone Tom would think was a buyer, offering to pay for the blackmail footage in exchange for silence. She set the meeting at a downtown hotel bar late at night. Hidden cameras, a burner phone to record audio. When Tom walked in, he looked relaxed, confident, just like always. He sat down across from her, not recognizing her in the wig and dark makeup. "You have what I need?" he asked. "I want insurance," Emily replied, voice steady. "And I want to know who I'm protecting myself from." Tom smirked. Let's just say she wasn't very smart. Pretty, though, and naive. The perfect cover. "Your wife?" He laughed quietly. "She was a pawn. Her father ruined lives. I just returned the favor." Emily's heart pounded, but her face stayed still. "You set her up. Every step. She thought she found me. Cute, right?" He leaned in. "She still thinks she can beat me. But people like her always fold." Emily smiled. "I guess we'll see." She stood and walked out without another word. Outside, in the alley behind the building, she uploaded the full video, audio, visuals, everything, directly to her site, tagging every journalist she'd emailed before. Within 10 minutes, it was everywhere. CEO caught on tape, admits framing wife, embezzlement, revenge plot. By the time Tom figured out what had happened, it was already too late. Emily was gone again. But this time, the whole world was watching. Tom was arrested outside his office 3 days after the video dropped. It was caught on camera. Agents in black jackets leading him away in cuffs. His tie still perfectly knotted, his face calm. He didn't resist, didn't yell, just turned to the cameras and smiled. Reporters flooded the scene. The headlines exploded. CEO brought down by his own wife. Whistleblower revealed as Emily Bell. Her name was everywhere, but the victory felt hollow. Emily watched the footage from a rented apartment in another city. She'd dyed her hair, changed her name again. The media hounded her for interviews, but she stayed silent. There was nothing left to say. The FBI cleared her name publicly. She was labeled a victim, a survivor, but not everyone believed it. Online threads questioned her story. Some called it a setup. Others called her a mastermind. Her face became a meme, her name a hashtag. The truth didn't matter anymore. It belonged to the internet. The whistleblower site she'd created vanished 2 weeks later. Taken down without warning. No trace. No backup. Mark was never found. She searched, called old contacts, drove to places he might have hidden. Nothing. No body. No goodbye. Sometimes she wondered if he'd been killed. Other times she wondered if he'd been bought. Either way, he was gone. Emily tried to rebuild, quietly. She got a job under an alias. Rented a small house on the edge of a town where no one knew her. Each night she checked the locks twice. Slept with a light on. Tom was still in jail, but his lawyers were pushing hard. Technicalities, mistrials, motions. He had money, connections, and time. One cold morning, as she walked to her car, she saw something tucked under the windshield wiper. She froze. It was a note. Same handwriting, same paper. Her fingers shook as she unfolded it. "It's not over." She looked around the empty street, heart racing. No sign of anyone, just silence. Emily didn't scream, didn't cry. She folded the note slowly and put it in her coat pocket. Then she got in the car, locked the doors, and drove away. She didn't know where yet, only that she had to keep moving, because whoever was still watching wasn't done with her. It didn't make headlines. There were no flashing cameras, no microphones in his face, just a quiet court ruling buried in the local paper. All charges dropped due to evidentiary misconduct. Tom walked out of the courthouse a free man, wearing the same suit he'd been arrested in, thinner now, meaner, but still walking tall. He moved into a penthouse apartment downtown, kept a low profile, claimed he was rebuilding, But the smile was back, and so was the arrogance. He thought Emily was dead. Months ago, a charred body had been found in a crashed car registered under her fake name. Dental records were inconclusive, but the story fit. A sad end for a woman who had lost everything. The authorities called it an accident. Others whispered suicide. No one questioned it. Not even Tom. But Emily wasn't dead. She had planned every step, burned IDs, staged the crash, left just enough behind. The body had come from a friend of Mark's, a Jane Doe, forgotten by the system. Emily made sure she wouldn't be. For the past year, Emily had travelled, quietly, carefully, learning, watching, waiting. She didn't want to hide anymore. She wanted him to feel what she felt. Fear. It began with small things. A reflection in a mirror, a shadow behind a window. Once, a woman who looked just like her sat across from him at a restaurant and smiled before walking away. He told himself it was paranoia until the box arrived. No return address, just his name. Inside was a single photo, black and white, taken from a distance. Emily, in a hoodie and sunglasses, standing across the street from his apartment, looking straight into the camera. There was a small recorder underneath it. He pressed play, her voice, calm and cold. "Your turn to run." He dropped the recorder, ran to the window. No one there. He called security, had them sweep the building, check the cameras. Nothing. She was a ghost now, and she had learned everything from him. The man who once taught her to fear the shadows now lived in them, because Emily wasn't hiding anymore. She was hunting, and she had all the time in the world. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Bye.